By the late 1800s, families were beginning to enjoy some of the conveniences of the late Victorian era. The Milburn House is an example of a fixer-upper from the 1870s, at least according to the records left by Thomas and Sarah Milburn's daughter, who would have lived here at the time. Thomas Milburn and his wife Sarah would have added colorful wooden siding, manicured gardens, and a white picket fence, enhancing the curve appeal of their modern home. Now was a time when Canadians could start thinking about what they wanted and not just what they needed. 7 people would have lived here at one point, and while the rooms seemed small, they would have been filled with the trappings of a successful household. This parlor would have been saved for special occasions, decorated with a dark, luxurious wallpaper, a horsehair fainting couch, and various pieces of family art. During the 1800s, girls were taught how to be wives. Samplers were one way of instructing young girls on the art of cross-stitch, a kind of guide for future use once she had moved out of her parents' home and into her husband's. Off of the parlor is a room which might have been used as a sick room. Tight quarters meant illness could easily spread through a family. Settlers knew that sick individuals needed to be isolated to contain the spread of germs. Medical treatment was rare, and there were few doctors in the region. Families would either make their own medicines with herbs and plants from their gardens or purchase some from the general store. Medicine was highly unregulated. Opium, also known as laudanum, was often used in the treatment of many ailments. One of the benefits of modern farm life was a cast iron stove. This beautiful big stove would have heated both floors of the Milburn house, along with an additional stove in the parlor. This was the heart of the home, where the family would gather, and again we see the evidence of a successful farm. Coal oil lamps replaced flickering candles, and a cistern pump provided the convenience of accessing water indoors. Thomas Milburn would have benefited from new farming technologies as well. As yields grew bigger, so did the equipment needed to harvest them. A steam engine, similar to the later Sawyer-Massey steam engine model, would have been easily transported through a community to aid in farming endeavors.
As the world entered the 20th century, Canadians living in the region were greeted by both great success and difficulty. The Anishinaabe were faced with some of the greatest challenges. The Williams Treaties, signed in 1923, were meant to clear up previous treaties, including Treaty 20. However, they did not secure hunting and fishing rights for the First Nations involved. This has led to feelings of resentment, mistrust, and a deep sense of loss. However, since the earliest contact, the Miccosukee have always advocated for their rights and petitioned the government to honor treaty agreements. Litigation was filed against the government in 1992 for fair compensation. A settlement was only reached in August of 2018, with apologies following in November that year. Indigenous peoples are resilient, and their culture, language, and spirituality are experiencing a resurgence that is strengthening Indigenous nations and Canada.
The past 200 years have been filled with struggles and triumphs. Our current accomplishments and efforts of reconciliation are built on the hard work, advocacy, and traditions of our ancestors, who live on through us. We can take the best of their natures while learning from their mistakes to effect change for a better world now and for future generations.